Hello, my name is Sheila, and I'm going to put together a tutorial on how to assemble the high top zippered bag by disorderly threads. This one that I'm going to do is a 5x7, but if you're doing the 6x10, instructions should be the same, just the sizes of the fabric you cut will be a little different. I'm not an expert. I've been doing embroidery for since 2004, and so I've done quite a few in the hoop things. This particular one, I've only done these 3. The pattern calls for, the instructions call for using a medium weight cutaway, and I didn't have much cutaway left that was other than poly mesh. So for this one I used a small piece of cutaway. I thought it was medium weight. It came out, I think, overall pretty good. While I was waiting for some medium weight cutaway to come in, I did this one using poly mesh, and I wasn't as pleased with the results. The corners didn't seem to get tucked in as nicely. I think there might have been a little bit of shifting there, I'm not sure. Anyway, so I got the cutaway in, medium weight. It was a little heavier than the first stuff that I used. And I'm really pleased with how this came out. Now with this one, I also experimented with using heat and bond light, because I tend to like to use that underneath my appliques. But I won't do that again, because I think that this bag is a little bit stiffer than these are. I think that overall I got pretty good results, but I just didn't care for the stiffness. I think the bag needs to be a little bit softer. So I have selected my fabrics and my thread, my zipper, and I'm going to go ahead and take some time off here, and I'm going to pre-cut my pieces so that I have them ready to go. Okay, so I have all of my fabric cut. I use the Warm and Natural batting in mine, and if you're using this, make sure that the part that goes up against the zipper, you cut it with a rotary cutter for a nice straight edge. You can have ragged edges everywhere else, it doesn't matter, but up there, nice straight edge really helps have it look nice and neat. And so this is my fabric for the outside of my purse or bag, and this is the fabric for the inside. And because this is not one directional, I only cut one sheet 9x6 for the shoe applique, and what I'll do is take what I trim off and flip it over and use it for the top. But if it's one directional, you gotta kind of watch not doing that, or you'll have things upside down. And then I actually have another extra piece I cut of that fabric, and I cut it 12 inches by 2 inches, and I'm going to make a strap out of this fabric. And for those of you who don't make straps all the time, I find it easy enough just to fold it in half and iron it. And then I'll fold the edges in half. Again, pretty much like this. Just one more iron, and then just top stitch along the edge, and really easy to do. So if you have one of these feet that has a little edger on it, really helps with the top stitching. That's what I like to use. set my size up a little bit, and I just line it up, and you don't have to worry about securing the ends because your stitching it to the bag is going to handle that. I've got a thread there. Makes a real nice little strap. If you have software, you can open up the design in the software, and you can set all of your elements. You can open up all of the different elements in this design and change the colors. For instance, I have the tongue of the design done in a paler peach, and I have all this top stitching done in a darker peach. And I turned my star blue and made my shoelaces dark brown. And so once you've done that, just go ahead and save your design to your thumb drive and transfer it to your machine. Some of you may have it have machines where you use special cards, but let's see, there I am. And it's going to ask me to replace it because I've had it on my thumb drive already. And I've kind of looked at this design, and I've actually decided that my shoelaces, I want them to be the same color as the stars, so I'm going back in and changing it to the star color. And again, I'm going to go in and save to my thumb drive. Okay, so I have my design loaded on my machine with my thumb drive, and I have it all set up to run. Even if you have a single needle, you're going to be doing all of these same steps. You'll just be doing more manual color changes than I'll have to do. But the first thing is to run the step that's going to tell you where to place your zipper. So for me, that's the first step. Let it run. Okay, so then you see you've got the two lines sitting there, and you're going to take your zipper, 9-inch zipper for the 5x7, and you're going to just place it between those two lines, like so, and then add a little tape to hold it. Stays nice. Okay, so you're going to lay your zipper down so it's between the stitches, and you're going to tape it, and you put it there so that the pole is to the left, and you have your little tape that holds it in place. And then you're going to take your pieces of fabric, the one that'll be the liner on the bottom front, and the one that will be the zipper bag bottom front, and you're going to set those in place for the next stitch sequence, next stitch step. So the way I do it is I just remember that this is the way it's going to end up when you zip it open, end up. This will be the right side. But you want it to sew right here. So imagine that. So you're going to lay your fabric right side down so that the bottom edge is along that stitched line where you place the zipper. And you'll tape it in place or clip it in place however you want to do it, but you have to make sure you hold it in place there so it doesn't move on you. Then go to the right side, the top side of your hoop or frame, and you do the same thing. You know, you want the bottom fabric to lay like this when you're done. So flip it right side down and put that edge along the stitching. And I'm going to use the same clips. And hold that in place. And make sure you get it down there far enough. If you get it down just a little bit over, it's not going to hurt because it just gives you a little bit of a wider seam there or edge. But the main thing is that you want to make sure it's nice and smooth. And you keep your bottom fabric clipped in. So I've got my bottom clipped in, and it looks like my bottom moved up a little bit here. So you do want to make sure that you stay low enough so you do catch it in the seam that is getting stitched in this next step. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go put it on my machine, and I'm going to stitch the next step, which is going to sew the line right here. Okay, be right back. Okay, so I have my frame back on my machine, and I'm going to do the next step. You can see it's stitching right below or right above that seam line. And there it goes. Right here and here, and I'm going to remove the top fabric. Leave your bottom fabric up, so leave it up so it doesn't get stitched on during the next phase. I'll go ahead and pull that tape off here because I don't want the tape stuck in under there. Okay, and then I'm gonna just I'm gonna just press this real quick and grab your batting that's gonna go in under there, and I've got a nice even edge. I'm gonna take that and just lay it right up in there, nice and evenly. And lay it down. Then you've got your batting underneath. And then next, grab your fabric that you're going to use for your applique. Let's go ahead and clip that so it stays nice and flat. Nice and flat. Okay. So then lay it so it is about 1/4 of an inch below this seam. So once it's done, you're going to flip it over, and that'll be the top side of your shoe. I think this is the right side of my fabric. So right side down and 1/4 of an inch past. if you get a little bit over 1/4 inch, I don't really think it hurts any. If you want to put a little bit of tape, just make sure it stays flat, that's okay. And we're going to go stitch the little part that's going to put a seam right there. Okay. Put that back up. All right, there we go. Okay, then I like to really give that a piece a good ironing. So take it over to my little iron center here and unclip it. Remove that tape and unclip it. Take it down. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull that tape back just a wee bit. Make sure I don't have any tape pieces in there. And make sure I have it down there really nice and tight. I see some of my blue tape here. So what I find is that if you got it down there really nice and tight, you're going to see a little bit of your bottom fabric through there. Okay, and then just lay that down and clip it in place. Make sure it's nice and smooth. And you might want to put some pins in there if you want to. I like to. For me, I've been adding a couple of strike pins right here, holding the fabrics together. And then make sure your liner is still up, so it's not, make sure I'm showing that. Yeah, make sure it's still up, so you're not getting any of your shoe stitched on your liner. Applique. So now we're going to stitch the outline of the shoe. Alrighty. And if you're uncertain about it laying, I like to use chopsticks to help me hold fabric down if I need to. So the next step is to trim the shoe. Okay, so I'm trimming the fabric away. And the bottom doesn't have to be super neat because it's going to have that all that stitching that goes over it. But you do want to make sure you get this back side close enough to where it gets covered totally by your satin stitch. Okay, so hang on to this piece because you can use that piece for the top part. You don't have to cut that extra little piece, especially if you're running a little short on material, and I was with this one, so It's nice that you can use that little extra. Okay, so now I'm going to put it back on the machine and we're going to start doing the rest of the stitching at the bottom. Make sure it stays nice and tight. Even though it may seem like it is, it can still move. We don't want that. Stitches. Okay. Actually, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I've been running it at 400 stitches per minute, and I can run it faster, but I have to make sure I don't get that bounce with this. Just do it like that. Okay, so you can see it's going to start okay, so at this time you've got everything stitched for showing the tongue of the shoe and the satin stitches on each side, the satin stitch in the back, the stitched threading that would be on the shoe, all of the eyelets, so all those should be stitched, and then your circle, which is your placement stitching for your applique piece there. So for me, I like to use the mirror glitter vinyl, and I'm going to place it right over that and add a little tape. I've got some right here just to secure it. And put it back on the machine and sew it down. Okay, so I've done the stitch around there and I'm going to trim it. And when you're taking the hoop off and on, always check to make sure your liner is up at the top, so you're not getting it in underneath all of your stitching here. So just double check that and save you a lot of headache. So just remove the tape and run through here, and I'm gonna trim this piece. Okay, so I have it trimmed, and I'm gonna put this back on my machine, and it's gonna run through the final steps for doing the bottom part of the bag. And just kind of weigh that frame down so it doesn't bounce so much. Make sure I don't have my scissors fall off. Okay, so then I start the design back up. And it's going to finish doing the whole bottom of the design. Okay, so my design is now stitched at the bottom. When it finishes the shoelace, that's it for the bottom part of your zipper bag. And so now you're going to start preparing it to do the top part. And what I like to do first is, so what you need to do first is go ahead and go ahead and release this top lining and drop it down. And I like to, because I had it clipped up there, I like to kind of iron it down a little bit to get rid of some of those wrinkles. I'll just, and then smooth it right there. It's on a clip. Okay, and so that's nice and smooth. And you see the design is fully stitched at the bottom. So the next thing you're going to do is the top part of your bag. So you'll need this piece for the front and this piece for the lining. And again, so your liner on the back is now totally down. And so take this, and what you're going to want to do is have it, think about having it like this. You lay it right side down and have it so it goes just along, you may not be able to, just along the stitching right here. So right side down and taper clip it in place. And this is on the back side of your hoop or frame. Have it right along there. It's going to stitch just below there. Okay, and then flip over to the top side of your frame, and you're going to put this one in place, and think about having it laying so that it's right side up. Then flip it down so it's actually right side down with the seam along the top part of the zipper. Just put it there and clip it in place. I'm just going to pin these pieces together just to make sure that it stays there. Okay, so I didn't lose the back. Pretty much right where it should be, and the top is right where it should be. So I'm going to put it back on my machine, and I'm going to stitch this seam right here. And okay, then take that off your machine, and I like to take it over to my pressing station. And just unclip the top part. Oh, and remove this tape because you don't need it there anymore. And I like to unclip the top part and lay it up there. I'm going to go ahead and remove that tape too. Just get it out of the way. Okay. I'm going to press it up. So it's nice and flat. Okay, and then back over to where I've got all my pieces. I'm going to put the batting in and set the top applique piece in. Okay, I think that's good. So here you want to take your batting, do that really straight side down along right here. So don't forget your batting. And then take that last piece of applique and place it so it's going to be right side down, and it's going to go just 1/4 of an inch past this seam right here, this top zipper seam. It's about 1/4 of an inch. Just clip that in place. Make sure it's about 1/4 of an inch. And you can put a little tape again right along here to make sure it lays flat while it's doing that stitching. And you can see I just used that one piece that I had for the bottom section. I didn't actually cut 2 separate pieces. It's large enough. Okay, back on your machine. Make sure that your bottom, your back lining, is staying down. And I'm going to go ahead and clip that. Because you don't want to do any stitching through that back lining when you're doing this top portion. So this is the back lining's down, both lining pieces are down now. And you see that? Both are down. And then this is the top part. Get back on the machine. If in doubt, check it out. Make sure your pieces are where they're supposed to be so you don't have to rip out and redo. Okay. And it's going to do that short little section right along there. Okay. Take it off the machine and go back to your pressing station. Remove that tape. Remove the clips. And you're going to take it and you're going to just press it up as good as you can. There, make sure it's as smooth as possible. And then clip that piece in place so it doesn't move. And so your top piece doesn't move either. And make sure your back lining's staying down and out of the way. So you've got the back lining down, you've got this top applique pulled up. You go back to the machine, go ahead and run the next step, and that's going to do the outline of the top. And take that back off. Make sure you don't cut this part here, just your applique piece. Just pull it back in. Okay, so then you go back to your machine. Put it back on your machine. Make sure your bottom pieces are still down. And I'm going to put my clips clips back on to hold that really nice and tight there. And put it back on my machine. The next couple of steps that are going to do the stitches. Whoops. There you go. It's back on the machine and it's doing those steps. Okay, so the machine is finishing up this last satin stitch up at the top. And take it off my machine. Take it back over to the ironing station. Okay, unclip the liner on the back and iron it up. It's nice and smooth. Okay, now we're going to go back and piece saw the final pieces together. What you're going to do is on the top side, have it top side forward, unzip the zipper. Make sure you do that. If you don't do it at this step, you're going to have a little bit of difficulty opening it all up. So just unzip it about this far. And then take your top fabric, your outside fabric that's going to go on the back, and lay it face down. And mine's directional, so make sure that I have the flowers facing up. Face it face down over the whole design, and then take your batting and lay it down over that and clip it in place. Make sure that you keep your lining in the back, the top part up and the bottom part down, so it stays where it's supposed to be. Just kind of clip it in place. Now the top is up. And the bottom is down. Everything's where it's supposed to be. Ooh, and I forgot to put my strap in. So this is the time to put your strap in too. Make sure you're seeing that. Okay, so I just fold it in half, and I usually make sure my seam is on the bottom facing down of my bag. And let's lay this back a little bit, just open it up, and you can put it wherever you want. I've seen it placed in different spots, but I usually line mine up right at the edge of the zipper. And I use my heavy-duty clamp to really make sure that gets held in place good. I don't want that shifting. I want to keep it so that it's all even. Top and the bottom of the strap all even. And then I'll take a little tape. And I tape it down. And I'll take a little bit more tape. I don't want this floating anywhere in the way. I just tape it down again. Okay, and that tape comes out pretty easily when you flip it right side out. Okay, so go back and clip these back in place. And just look at it again and you'll see that the top is up and the bottom lining is down. And I'm just going to go ahead and Move that pin here and here, and put a little tape right along there. Never hurts to take a second look at things. Make sure everything's nice and smooth. Top and bottom. Okay, back on the machine. And for some of you, depending on the kind of batting you use, you may actually want to have a layer of tearaway here. With my machine and this type batting, I haven't had an issue just running it like this. But you have to be the judge of your own fabric and what you're using. So I think I read that in the directions. It was a recommendation that Disorderly Threads had to put the tearaway stabilizer over this, and just to make sure that your embroidery foot doesn't get snagged on there. Okay, so we're going to run the next step. And it goes back and forth over where you have the zipper and the strap, so it secures that strap in there really nicely right here. Okay, we take it off the machine. You should have left is your back inside lining. You go to the back side of your hoop or frame and lay it down. So it's hard to see with mine because it looks the same, but this is actually the wrong side and this is the right side. It's a little more vibrant. And just you lay it down so it's right side down on the back side of your hoop, and this is your lining. And I don't need that anymore. And just tape it in place, pin it in place, clip it in place, however you're going to hold it. I'm using clips. And then I'm going to take my pin, my straight pins, and I'm just going to straight pin all that thickness together just to make sure. It stays. So it's all the way through, and I'm going to remove this piece of tape because tape doesn't really need to be there anymore. Okay, and then back on the machine, and it's going to stitch just this portion here and leave this open. And it leaves that open for turning it. Okay, now's the final bit of work to turn it right side out. So let's remove all the clips and remove it from your frame. So there you have it. It's all sandwiched together. And now what we're going to do is trim all of your batting as close to the edge as possible without cutting it out. So, okay, so I got this piece cut, and then you've got your stabilizer and your batting in between. Very carefully just pull that back and trim that stabilizer, or batting, I mean. Trim it. It's much easier to trim it with the stabilizer on the back. Okay, so I've got all that batting removed, and then I like to go ahead and cut back on the stabilizer too. Doesn't need to be there anymore, and it kind of, I think it also helps to minimize. Make sure you're not getting the back fabric, that you're just cutting the stabilizer away. So I'm going to take my time and do that. Careful. Okay, so I didn't get my camera turned back on before I trim this outer edge here. But go ahead and you trim, after you've trimmed your batting back and your batting and stabilizer back, go ahead and trim your fabric 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I like to leave the openings a little bit longer. I'll leave about 1 inch or so, because that helps me hold the fabric when I'm stitching it down by hand. So then once you've got it all trimmed, then you're going to turn it right side out so you see the lining fabric on both sides. So we're going to turn it right side out. I use my chopsticks to poke the corners out so that they're nice and neat all the way through. Put some tape under my nail. Okay. All right. And so, and this is the point that you would then iron these pieces down and hand sew them shut, hand sew that opening shut. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so I have the bottom sewn shut, and now the next thing you want to do is remove the stabilizer so you can get to the zipper. And do that really carefully. Just get yourself some real sharp little scissors, or you can also use, I've seen some people use like a seam ripper, and you just run it down, and make sure you don't cut the fabric, make sure you don't cut your zipper, but just run it down along there. And okay, let me see what I'm doing there. And so I'm going to get close to the edge. I'm just going to finish that up with the scissors very carefully. Pull that away. And you see I'm revealing the zipper back there. And I'm going to make a nice little square cut right here. At this point my scissors probably work better. But just I'll go ahead and finish removing that. Okay, so the stabilizer in between above the zipper has been removed, and now you can see that you've got everything neatly tucked inside. Grab a hold of that, oops, let me get neatly tucked inside, and you grab a hold of your zipper. You can zip it open the rest of the way and just turn it right side out and remove the tape holding the zipper, holding the strap in place. And I might have a little bit of tape right there to pull out. tweezers will get that out. Anyway, so use your whatever tool you have to poke those corners all the way out. And you've got a nice, neat bag. Except I've got a little tape there, but a nice neat bag. And that ends the video for the how to make the high top zipper bag. And if you have any questions, you can just ask me. Bye.